So, welcome to Hobby Shop Studio Group. Yours truly, DX187 Cuts. And I guess I'd like to go into how Hobby Shop Studio Group um, not so much began, but how Hobby Shop Studio Group, not necessarily the artist's beginning, but the beginning of Hobby Shop Studio Group. And the crisscrossing of paths musically, and how these projects were birthed. The three albums we have: Murals Volume 1, Murals Volume 2, and Bittersweet Cuts. And this is the evolution of how they came about. And it's a pretty interesting story. You know, it's a backdrop. It's not just simple as we went into the studio and brainstormed ideas for songs. Actually, when I got my studio and I started tinkering with music and a few ideas, of course, I have just carried over my, I guess, imaging concepts of doing art, graffiti art. As a graffiti artist, I kept my name, D-Ice187 Cuts, or D-Ice187. Cuts came from music. Cut, slow cut, fast cut, whatever, meaning music. And D-Ice1, because D-Ice1, from my graffiti days, and the 87 on the end was the year I began with the name, doing graffiti art. So as I changed my medium from walls or street stuff, I turned it into music. And I believe I've kind of explained or given insight a little bit to that in other videos when allowing people into my world or to understand me as an artist on the surface. So here we are, Hobby Shop Studio Group. I'm experimenting with sounds, making music, experimenting with beats, hitting all the pads, hitting all the keys, learning this and that, and mixing it up with what I'd learned previously from other producers I'd worked with. And all of a sudden, living where I live and being in touch with family members, have quite a bit of talented family. And we agreed to be involved and do music together because many of them were introduced to music in other ways and were, I believe, at a level where I think they should be heard. They had already been doing their own thing and wasn't getting any traction so much as getting the fulfillment without the energy being right for each and every one of us, which is why I try to be positive in the most part, to give a person the vibes to want to create or to want to make music, because people that do music, I think, know that the energy should be right, and the energy allows you to be more creative and sets the template or the landscape for what picture the artist would like to paint. With that being said, these artists had been in other situations dealing with certain producers, and their paths would cross. And with it being such a competitive thing, we'll call it a thing, because, I don't think music is really competitive in other genres. I don't think it's so much competition. People make it competition, but I don't think it really is. Music is music, and I don't think any one song is more important than the other. I don't think the OJs are more influential than, say, the Temptations. I think they all have relevance, and they all have, well, I've said it, relevance to everybody. We all love them equally. I don't, sometimes we might feel like listening to this song sometimes more than another song, depending on our mood or what's going on. There's a lot of factors that play on that. But my point is that all the artists I work with are great in their own respect. I believe that they would add to what I was doing, and we all, as far as I know, enjoy compilations like The Chronic or Murder Was the Case, where you have multiple artists singing, rapping, just being themselves and sharing their talents with the world. And I personally have loved albums like that were compilations. um, so I figured I'd do one too with my family or our family. Um, and a lot of us are family and friends and family behind family. Um, as like, I might have a cousin that might have a friend who is a best friend of another cousin on another side of my family, and just we're all intertwined and interlocked somehow. But when it comes to doing music, for some reason in this craft, everybody, of course, wants to be the best, when realistically, I don't see anybody as really the best. I see we all have our perspective, and some of us can convey the message a little, their message or their path or their ideas a little more clearly than others, other ways than others, but they all have relevance. But it became so competitive. It became like a rap battle. And I'm gonna tell you, as I've mixed and mastered a lot of our music and listened to it over and over again, and understood the perspective of each artist, I realized that our hobby shop studio group music birthed a similar Tupac and Biggie situation within itself. What I mean by that is, it wasn't a coast to coast beef. Our music wasn't well known to where it would people were picking sides or anything, but within our crews and within our music conglomerates, we had people that were picking sides, and it was a minute Biggie and Tupac situation. And what I mean by that is, I have some relatives, family members, friends, close associates that I do music with that freestyle, off the dome, whatever you want to call it. Everybody has their own uh, nickname or ebonic for the word off the dome when you come up with words and you don't write them. And some people have that gift where they can come up with clever words to say that fit a song and the energy, and other people have to write their music or would like to write their music or for whatever reason. But I happen to have a family member that comes off the top of his head, and he makes beautiful music without writing it. And then I have another uh, close associate. Almost, it's safe to say he's a family member too, through other family members and friends. That is articulate in his own way and likes to pen his music. Using write his music, which is okay with me. I don't care how you do it, just make it fit the beat. Make it, make it work for you, or we can do something that will work for you. That's making music is so extensive. You can come up with music using so many methods, so many strategies, so many. You can make the beat first. You can make the music first. You can sing the music. You can rap, however it has to be. But this is just the way it went down with us. So I had some family members that came over, started doing some music with us. There was, let's see, there was different. They were all from different crews and cliques, and if you listen to the music, you can hear the uh, the dissension in the ranks, the competitiveness, the braggadocio, the poking at each other, the antagonizing each other, verbally and lyrically. Um, I'm thankful it never led into any physical altercations. However, I did witness times when it had kind of boiled over and almost gone there. But with me being the peer or the overseer of the situation and it being in my environment, we're not going to do that where I'm at. You're not going to bring no drama to my situation because then you're going to involve me and it's not going to be nice. And I'm not saying I'm all cut like that or nothing, but we just, out of respect, not going to do that around my spot. That's all I'm saying. I don't care what you do outside them doors, but in my spot, we don't get down like that. So I appreciate that they respected that. And they all had situations um, that kind of boiled over. And I was glad, in a sense, that I was able to witness this and to mediate and to keep the peace amongst all of this that was boiling over, that was going to and could have turned the other way. And music and being in studios does give, in fact, people outlets and the ability to vent and take care of situations and face them head on. And I commend my brothers, cousins, nephews, relatives, friends that took place in this because it allowed them to meet up and talk about, handle, squash their differences. And I got to watch this and witness this and make sure everybody got a fair shake on their perspective of how things were going. But at the same time, they got to express themselves through music. And with my blessing and a little bit of guidance, we didn't spin out of control. We didn't get out of orbit. But we made what I love or what I think is some good, passionate music. Um, and that's why it went so good with what I was creating because I named it Murals and Bittersweet Cuts because they were painting their own pictures. And the album was full of murals. It was full of different perspectives. It was full of what I thought was fun. To me, each song went along with a day and time, went along with a relationship, not just with them, but within their own situations. And I understood it. So it was very beautiful for me and very touching for me because I understood everything that was going on and who was who and what was what. Stemming from artists coming from another situation where they were all sharing the spotlight and battling to a degree, lyrically, verbally, with their talents to outperform each other, outshine each other, to egos getting in the way and feeling they should have this at their disposal and that at their disposal and be able to um, take the stage in their own right the way they wanted to when there were actually numerous wonderful artists that all deserve the spotlight as equally. But with this being a new stage for them, of course, certain people feel a certain way, and that's when the bumping heads instead of shaking hands would take place. And like I said, you can hear it in the music, the beefing, or I don't know, beef is such a strong word, but it was beefing to a point, with the color lines being drawn. Even though you're family members, you still, come from different neighborhoods, different cliques and crews. BMK, Boss Made Kings, SOE, Fam Life, MTW, um, numerous different family members being parts of different crews. Again, we're having differences with each other. And when you would hear certain members on certain songs, it would divide the crews and create new divisions, because even people from the same crews or cliques would have differences or feel like, hey, you went to the studio and didn't invite me, and you snuck over there and you made a song, so now I feel some kind of way. Then the other guy might come to the studio, and then he might feel some kind of way, and he'll talk about the other guy or talk about a situation, and it just it birthed and created other songs and other emotions and other outlooks of situations that were growing into a garden of music, which would be the album. And although it could be slated as hostile to a degree, um, I'd have rather had it be over a beat than over a patch of grass, if you understand what I'm saying. But that's how we ended up with the Hobby Shop album, as people were leaving the other situation to give the other situation time to breathe, because there are so many talented artists out here in Oklahoma City. There are generations of them, waves of them, in so many different age groups that have been doing it for generations, that haven't had the outreach, the respect, the notoriety that we all feel we deserve. And with me being another outlet, I was able to have a nice insight when dealing with these artists and mixing and really listening to their music and absorbing their outlooks. I was able to resolve and calm a lot of situations and allow artists to meet face to face and to resolve those issues, yet get their frustrations out. And it led to some happy songs, some combative or confrontational songs, some revolutionary type music. But all in all, I look at it as just music. We all have different feelings or characters of ourselves, depending on the day, depending on the time, depending on who we're dealing with, depending on how situations are presented with us. And then we've got lives outside of that too that can influence or spice up our emotions or feelings that are emulated or portrayed through our music. So it's a nice mixture, a nice little gumbo, a nice mural mixture of colors. And I just really appreciated being a part of it, because it was really something different. It wasn't something It wasn't a normal album. It had really a lot of different offshoots or different paths it went. So if somebody were to ask me, who is this talking about? Who is that talking about? Basically, it was everybody kind of going at each other. We were pointing at each other because there were unresolved issues that came from the other situation that led to this epic or peak. And I've dropped, like, when after they dropped their music and did other situations, by the time they came to me, they were warm and they were about at the end of it. And that's when everything kind of boiled over and came to a head. And the music that we made was the head of the confrontation and conflict. Because today, the conflict, I don't believe, exists. Everybody seems to be at ease and comfortable with it because everything was able to get out in the open. And if you listen to it enough, you can kind of tell who's going at who and who was challenging who to get to the top. And in this one, man, just I don't want to take sides, but there was a definite champion. There were people who went hard, and then there were people who just understood what they were dealing with and could resolve or get their point across simply without effortless, and in the end, as everybody listened to the music, I got to sit there and watch the expressions of each of them as they go down the soundtrack and acknowledge what each other was saying about each other. And I don't want to put anybody on blast, but I do know that everybody got their respect from their combatant, their competitive adversary. And I know who championed who. And man, it was just what I know is awesome, awesome with what my loved ones did, and what one of my loved ones, how he just wrapped them all up and simmered it all down, and you gotta respect it. But I just want it to be known that we couldn't talk about anybody we didn't know about, and we knew each other, and we kept it in house. And if the shoe don't fit, don't even try to put it on. Just enjoy this music, because that's all it is today. It's just music, something to bob your head to, listen to, something to ponder, think about, but not to get negatively emotional about. It was fun when I look at the whole of what was going down. It was fun, and it was some good times. Hobby Shop Studio Group. In a minute.